Oh, you have nothing real? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Levine.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have a photograph of Fabio from the police. Exhibit 13. Mr. Austin, do you see the person in that picture?
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you know who that is?
It's the victim, sir.
I'm sorry?
That's the victim, sir.
You know his name?
Fabio's Sementilli.
Okay. Did you kill him?
I was a part of that, yes.
You stabbed him in the neck
Yes, sir.
in order to kill him along with Mr. Baker, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'm still not clear. Why did you do that?
He told me to. I went with him.
So Mr. Baker had so much power over you that by just telling you, I want you to come with me and kill someone, that you did it?
He convinced.
Sustain.
He convinced me.
Okay, we know you did it because he asked you to. I'm asking you why you... Well, let me change that. So the only reason you participated in the murder of Fabio Sementilli is because Mr. Baker asked you to.
Yes.
Why didn't you just say no?
Wasn't a very... He was like family. And he said that his girlfriend didn't want him around anymore. And so he asked me to do it with him. And I went.
And that was enough for you? That he was family?
Yes. That he was like family, yes.
And you would have killed anyone for him. Is that a fair statement?
No.
Did you even know Fabio Sementilli's name at the time you participated in his murder?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you even ask?
No, sir, I did not.
Do you remember the name that Mr. Baker used, well, the name that you used for him when you were talking to the police initially, and the Perkins individual who was put in your cell as an informant for the police? You remember the name you used to describe him?
The victim or
Yes.
the dude?
It was motherfucker, wasn't it?
That's what Baker referred to him as. Yes.
In fact, the individual, which, may I refer to him as the Perkins individual? Sure. The Perkins individual, referred to him as motherfucker, and then you picked right up on it, and you continued to call him motherfucker whenever you were speaking to the police or the Perkins individual or anyone after that, correct?
I'm going to object on vague as to Perkins agent for this witness.
It's overruled. I already should use
Whenever they went along, whatever they said, I said yes.
No, but you used that term to describe Fabio Sementilli.
Yes.
Why didn't you just ask Mr. Baker what his name was?
I don't know.
You didn't care, did you?
I did.
You
But I
cared what his
didn't.
name was in terms of killing him?
I don't know.
You don't know. You did not know who his wife was at that time either, did you?
No. Not until, well, recently, until the when we went there.
Okay, well, I'm not sure what you mean by recently. When did you first learn the first name of Mrs. Sementilli over there, the defendant as you called her?
When did I learn her first name?
Yes.
When I got picked up. I had forgot her name.
When you got picked up by who?
By the police.
When?
When I was first arrested, October 2nd in 2024.
Up in Vancouver?
Yes, sir.
And they told you her name?
Yes.
Well, they asked you if you knew her name. Remember?
Yes.
And you told them you didn't even know her name, correct?
That is correct.
And you told them that you had never met her before. Isn't that correct?
Sorry, counsel, you're on the projector.
I'm sorry?
Nothing. There was an item on the projector. Thank you.
That's what I said, yes.
And that was the truth, right?
I told him I didn't know her.
Was that the truth?
Yes.
You didn't know her name and you didn't know her, correct?
That's what I told him.
And this was on October 2nd about of 2024, correct?
Yes, sir.
And they asked you if you had met her in Las Vegas in July of 2016, and you said no, correct?
Yes.
Was that the truth?
When they asked me, yes.
Okay. When they asked you. So, in essence, all the time that you were interviewed by the police, well, let me start so we don't get an injection of too many different items here. You were first of all, you had a Perkins person in the cell with you, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that person spoke with you for several hours about your case and why you were there and things like that, with you not knowing that he was working for the police, right?
Yes, sir.
You thought he was just another inmate like you.
Another person like me, yes.
Okay. And you told him the truth, so I had no reason to lie to him, right?
What do you mean?
Well, he asked you why you were there and what had happened. Oh, I mean, we have hours of tape recordings,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir.
You told him the truth, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, why would you lie to him? Correct?
I don't know him. I didn't really want to talk to him like that either.
Well, whatever you talked to him about, did you lie or did you tell him the truth?
I told him I don't know her.
You told him you don't know her.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the truth?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
And it's the truth today, correct?
I don't know her.
Well, did you meet her in Las Vegas?
I might have. I don't remember
You
seeing
don't
her
remember?
face.
Well, you testified just a while ago that you had not only met her, you'd met her several times, and you had talked to Baker about her and a whole conspiracy to kill her husband. Isn't that right?
You asked me if I had met her in Vegas. I told you I might have.
And is that what you told them? The
That is-
police
that
and the
is-
district attorney's office?
Yes, sir.
So you're not sure to this day whether you ever met her in Las Vegas?
Again, I might have. I don't remember seeing her.
Okay. And you didn't remember her name until you were arrested, correct?
Yes.
You never met her, correct?
I met her when she invited me to, when I met her at the gym.
Okay, so let's go back to that. So the only time you had met Monica Sementilli,
That I could recall.
well, did you do your best to recall everything when the police questioned you?
I did.
You knew they were questioning you about a murder case, right?
That's what they informed me.
And that your life, your future life, or your imprisonment depended on what you told them, right?
Yes, sir.
And over again, they told you, if you got to tell us the truth. If you don't tell us the truth, nothing good's going to happen for you, right?
Objection as soon as facts on amendment.
Sustained.
Did the police in Vancouver, in fact, the two officers who interviewed you are sitting in the courtroom today, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bowles and Mr. Farrell, correct?
Yes, sir.
Detectives. And Ms. Stiegel, the district attorney who just questioned you, was there also, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And they interviewed you, right?
Yes, sir.
And they urged upon you to tell the truth. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell them the truth?
I did.
And you told them that you had never met or spoken to Monica Sementilli. Is that right?
In the beginning, yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And they asked you about the murder of the man you called motherfucker, but we'll call Fabio Sementilli, his true name. They asked you about that.
Please state the testimony.
That's overruled.
Could you ask me that again?
They asked you about your participation in the murder of Fabio Sementilli.
Yes, sir, they did.
All right? And you admitted to them that you had stabbed him once in the neck,
Yes, sir.
that you had participated in his murder, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
And they asked you, why did you do that? And you said, because he asked you, Mr. Baker, correct?
Yes.
Right? And they asked you what the reason was that Mr. Baker gave you for killing Fabio Sementilli. Remember that?
Yes.
And you remember what you said?
Insurance money.
Insurance money?
He said, what I'm telling you is Baker told me that she wanted them dead. That's what I remember telling them.
You know that those calls, those interviews were all tape recorded?
I do now.
You know that?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I wonder if I could play for the court, but show the court and the jury some of the language of the interviews that were conducted with this witness during the course of the Perkins procedure, just to give, so I could then question him as whether or not this is what he said, this is what they told him.
No, not right now. The answer to your question is a simple no. If it's for impeachment, yes. If it's the lay context, no.
Did the Perkins individual tell you that it was in your best interest to testify against the bitch, as they put it, meaning Monica Sementilli?
I remember him saying that. Yes, sir.
Remember him saying that the bitch is trying to get out? Remember?
I remember him saying that. Yes, sir.
Remember him saying, but you know what went down? You know the situation, correct?
Yes, sir.
He told you, you got to save yourself, man. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
Remember him saying, the bitch going to trial, so when you get ready to go to trial and you've been in jail, what you think a motherfucker that fixed to go for trial, that's fighting for their life, is to throw names. But you know what went down, right? You know the situation. Correct?
That's what he said. Yes, sir.
He told you, but right now it's your life or her life, right?
Yes, sir.
You remember him saying, I know your situation, yeah, of course, you're going to have to switch your story up a little bit, but still, you got to get the shit right before they come talk to you, bro.
As it stands, that's the thing.
You remember him saying, well, you got a job to do. It's up to you if you're going to do your job. You got two jobs you can do. You can do the job that's going to get you home or do the job that's going to get you gone. You remember that?
No, I'm not allowed that.
Yes, sir.
Remember the Perkins individual saying, okay, so it was her setup and then your uncle's the one who's supposed to carry it out. So those two main motherfuckers right there, you just happen to get drug in the middle of some bullshit, right?
Which was very true. Yes.
And then you said, yeah, I barely remember this woman, just seen her, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was that the truth?
That's what I told him, but that wasn't the truth.
Why'd you lie to him?
Because I didn't know him to be telling him a whole lot of information like that.
Okay. Remember him saying, so they need you to get this bitch because just think, if she get off, she'll get that insurance money. You see what I'm saying? So they already know that the bitch done set this up, and you said, yeah. And then, I want you to listen to this. The Perkins individual said, when did you find out this bitch wanted him off for the insurance money? Remember what you said?
I think I remember it said after or before.
Pardon?
I don't remember. I don't.
Well, let me tell you, because it's recorded. You can check it out.
Objection to the speaking.
That's correct.
Your answer was,
Objection argumentative.
One moment. Counsel, as he cannot recall, you can approach. You can refresh his memory. Right now, you're not going to read it at all.
okay, so you don't remember, but you responded to that question I just told you the Perkins individual asked you?
I remember.
Asked and answered.
No, counsel, totally.
I remember responding to him, but I know what I was told.
No, I want to know what you responded to him first. Would it refresh your memory? If I showed you the a transcript or a transcript of what you said?
I said it.
I'm sorry.
I said something. I told. What was it? What did he say again?
Okay, the question was,
What's the question?
you were asked in that cell by the Perkins individual, when did you find out that this bitch wanted him off for the insurance money? Do you remember what you said?
I don't remember what I said.
Let me approach, if I may, and show you the line that's in the transcript. Read it to yourself.
Did they?
This is on page 21, line 37 of the Perkins transcript. No, I'm sorry.
There is no line 37.
No, I apologize. This is on page 128, line 7 to 14.
Hold on, can you say that one more time?
128, page 128, line 7 to 14. Can you read that to yourself? Read it to yourself. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Does that refresh your memory?
Yes,
For
sir.
what you said in response to that question?
Yes, sir.
And what did you say?
I said, shit, the day I participated.
And the day you participated, you meant was the day of the murder, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you told that individual, you didn't know he was police, but whatever, asked when you first knew that she was off for the money. You said, shit, the day I participated in the murder, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was that true?
No, it was not true.
Why did you lie?
Because I didn't know him to be telling him my information, and I didn't know why he wanted to ask me so many questions.
I understand, but you answered his question, correct?
I answered him. I gave him an answer. It wasn't a true answer.
All right, and later on, that day, you were interviewed again by the officers and the district attorney, correct?
Yes, sir, I was.
And they also asked you when you first learned that Mr. Baker wanted him off because his wife wanted the insurance money, and you told them the exact same thing the day that you participated in the murder. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
Why did you lie to them?
Because I didn't have an attorney present.
I see. And you were concerned that without an attorney present, this might incriminate you, right?
You could say that.
So it didn't concern you that you admitted stabbing him in the neck. You admitted that to them, right?
I did.
So that was okay, but what you were worried about is admitting that she had anything to do with it?
I'm sorry, what?
You never told anyone that day, October 2nd, 2024, in Vancouver, whether it was a Perkins individual or the police or the district attorney, you never told them that Monica Sementilli had anything to do with this. Isn't that right?
I never brought it up.
Well, they brought it up, didn't they?
I didn't brought it up until everything started refreshing.
Yeah, and you got refreshing when you got your attorney, right?
Yes.
Up here in California, Los Angeles, a month or two later, right?
Yes, sir.
And you talked to him, right?
I did.
And I'm not going to ask you what he told you, but he told you, well, to this event, you knew that he arranged for you to have a proffer, right?
He had told me that, yes.
And do you know what a proffer is?
I learned about it the day he
Okay.
told me.
So let me shortcut it for you if I can. You tell me if I'm wrong. He informed you that you were going to meet with the district attorney's office and police, right?
Yes, sir.
And they were going to ask you questions, right?
Yes, sir.
And they were then going to determine, based on your answers, whether or not you were going to get a deal or not, right?
They brought that up, yes, sir.
Because you knew already that Mr. Baker had been sentenced to life without parole, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you knew you were facing that as well, correct?
Yes.
And you knew the only way you could save yourself was to testify on behalf of the prosecution, correct?
To tell the truth, yes.
To testify also, correct?
Yes.
So it was at that time was the first time that you ever said, oh, Mr. Baker told me that Monica Sementilli wanted him dead for insurance money, right?
After I spoke with my attorney, yes.
Right. And your attorney told you if you stick to this bullshit you've been telling, you're getting no deal.
Objection here, sir.
I'll withdraw the question, Your Honor. I apologize.
All right. Let me take our afternoon recess at this time for 15 minutes. The evidence implies. See back here in 15 minutes. Christina, go sidebar just for a second. Hopefully you can. We are back on the record. Here's the Sementilli defendants present, all counsel present, jury, and all are present. Mr. Austin, you're still under oath, and Ms. Levine, you may continue.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Mr. Austin, so let me ask you, if I can, did you decide, well, let me ask you this. You and Mr. Baker together, and you're staying along with Mr. Birdsong, also Birdsong, is that his name?
Yes, sir.
So your testimony today is that Mr. Baker, you and Mr. Birdsong conspired to kill Fabio Sementilli. Is that right?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, where am I wrong?
The conspired piece.
Okay. By conspired, I mean talked about it, planned it, carried it out. You don't have to be the one to carry it out if you were involved in planning it. Didn't you and Mr. Birdsong and Mr. Baker, according to your testimony, planned and carried out a killing of Fabio Sementilli? Is that right?
Yes, that's the information. Yes, that's the information. Yes.
Okay. And that's what you've testified here today, correct?
Yes.
Now, you don't see Mr. Birdsong here in court, do you?
No, sir.
But according to you, he participated in this. He advised you. He coached you. He knew all about it, right?
Yes.
Is it your testimony then that the only thing that changed in your description of what happened between what you told the Perkins guy and the police and the district attorney in Vancouver is that you added the fact that Mr. Baker was communicating with Monica Sementilli and telling you that this is what she wanted as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, again, you never spoke to her about this, correct?
Yes, sir.
You never saw her except at the gym, correct?
And her home.
And the one time at her home. I'll get back to that. But there was no conversation at that time about killing her husband, right?
No, sir.
So other than that, all the evidence or communications, I'll put it, that she was involved in any way with the planning and killing of her husband is that you say Mr. Baker told you that, right?
Yes, sir.
You weren't even there on the phone with her when she was allegedly telling him that, were you?
No, sir, I was not.
You weren't listening in, correct?
No, sir, I was not.
You didn't hear her voice, correct?
That is correct.
You didn't see any text messages, correct?
That's correct.
In fact, most of the time he was in another room and came out and told you, she tells me she wants to do it, wants him out of the way, she wants us to kill him, he's not home, all sorts of stuff like that, right?
Yes, sir.
You weren't even in the same room with him, right?
Not all the time. No.
Well, can you remember any dates? Let me ask you this. Can you remember any dates other than at the gym one time when he introduced you to her? Is that right?
Yes.
And as long as I'm on that subject, you believed, well, he told you she was just one of the girls he was seeing, right?
Yes.
You knew he had seen a lot of girls, right?
Yes, sir.
Was he married at the time that he introduced you to Monica Sementilli?
No, sir.
But he had been married to who, as far as you know?
Nikki.
Nikki, did you know someone like Dee as well?
I did.
All right. How many wives did you know he had?
4?
Okay. And how many girlfriends? Was that too many to count?
That's none of my business, sir. A lot.
Okay, but you saw him around a lot of girls,
Yes, sir.
a lot of relationships,
Yes,
right?
sir.
They came and went, right?
Yes, sir.
Kind of he used them and then discarded them, right?
Objection, argument.
The same.
And other than seeing her once at the gym and once at her home, you had no further information as to what her relationship was with Mr. Baker other than what you say he told you.
Yes, sir.
Now, it's your testimony that he told you she wanted him out of the way for insurance money, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it's your testimony today that that conversation started in July of 2016, correct?
Yes, sir.
And how many times after that did he tell you they had a conversation about that?
He didn't.
Well, there were other dates that year in August, September, October, right? This was being planned for months, right?
I would get sporadic phone calls from him.
From him, not from her.
That's correct.
And some of the phone calls included Mr. Birdsong, correct?
Sometimes.
All right. And I assume at times you talked to them about things other than killing Fabio Sementilli, or was that the only thing you talked about?
We talked about other things.
All right. Let's focus just on the killing of Fabio Sementilli. How many times would you say you had phone calls from either Mr. Baker and Mr. Birdsong together, or Mr. Birdsong alone, or Mr. Baker alone that dealt with the killing of Fabio?
More than 7?
Okay. So it was clear to you that this was a plan they wanted carried out, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he told you it was a plan she wanted carried out, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he told you you were going to do it, right?
Yes, sir.
And you agreed, correct?
Not initially.
Well, when did you agree? Can you give us a month, a year?
When he sent the money to buy my plane ticket.
When he sent the money to buy your plane ticket. And when did he do that?
January.
He
He said he's gonna send.
I'm
He
sorry.
said he's gonna send me. He said he's gonna get my ticket. And I'm gonna send you a card.
Send you a card, the ATM card?
Yes, sir.
And your birthday was what?
The 20th.
The 20th?
Yes, sir.
So how long before that did he send you that card?
Maybe a couple of weeks prior.
And you got a ticket to come down on your birthday, correct?
After.
A day or two after your birthday, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're telling me that at that time, 2 weeks before, when he sent you the card, you knew you were coming down to kill Fabio Sementilli because, according to Mr. Baker, she wanted him dead, right?
Yes, sir.
And you flew down anyway, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why?
I tell you honestly, that the person I was so far, so long ago.
You have no answer for that?
no excuse for that.
Okay.
It
But
was wrong.
okay, obviously it was wrong. But what you told the police and the Perkins individual when they interviewed you in October of last year was that she was in an abusive relationship and that's my girl. Right?
That's what he told me, yes.
And you was like, oh. Okay? And then you were asked when you first learned that, and you said it was the day you arrived, correct?
Yes, sir.
That was a lie, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why did you lie about the reason Mr. Baker wanted to kill Fabio Sementilli? What did that have to do with you?
Is that the question?
Were you trying to protect Monica Sementilli?
I'm sorry.
Why did you lie about the reason that you came down when you told the police and the Perkins individual that you were told by Mr. Baker it was because of an abusive relationship and you were just going to rough him up?
Oh, I didn't have an attorney present to tell them everything that I knew.
So you needed an attorney present to tell them the truth?
Yes.
See? And you needed an attorney present to get a deal, right?
I need an attorney present to tell me that they got you on stuff, so you need to tell them exactly what's going on.
They got you and stuff, and you better tell them that she was involved if you want a deal.
That's not what my attorney said.
But that's how you took it, right?
No.
You got a deal, didn't you?
Did
Or
I?
you're getting a deal, right?
Am I?
Well, I'm asking you, as you sit here right now, do you believe that as a result of your testimony today, implicating Monica Sementilli in the murder of her husband, Fabio, that you're going to get a deal?
I signed if I testify truthfully.
Okay?
Yes.
And truthfully meant to testify consistently with what you told them at the proffer, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And that's the first time you told them that the reason Mr. Baker wanted Fabio Sementilli dead is because Monica wanted him dead for the insurance money, correct?
I told them everything that needed to be said based on my counsel telling me to go 2 feet in.
Okay, go 2 feet in. That meant tell them what they want to hear, right?
Tell them the truth.
Okay. And again, was there some reason you couldn't have told the truth before to the police and to the DA's office?
I didn't have an attorney present.
Okay.
And
Let
I was
me ask
very
you this.
reluctant to tell them anything.
I'm sorry?
I was very reluctant to tell them anything at all.
You were very reluctant to tell them anything at all except for the fact that you killed someone by stabbing him in the neck. You told them that, right?
Yes.
You confessed to murder, where you could be in life for the rest of your life, but you didn't feel like telling him that Monica wanted him dead for insurance? Is that your testimony?
That's what happened.
Do you remember stating to, or did you ever state to the district attorney, Miss Degel, and I don't know if I pronounce it wrong, and I've known her for long. I'm going to ask Mike, because he knows everything. I know. That's embarrassing. All right. Miss Stagel, do you recall telling her at the end of the day, all you care about is seeing my girls? Remember that?
I do.
And things have to happen, but I mean, what can you do for me, you asked her, to make sure I see my girls? Go home, but like I understand, like, do I need to testify? What do you need? What can you do for me? What do you need from me so I can go see my girls? That's all that matters to me. Did you say that to her?
I did.
And was that the truth?
Yes.
I mean, what do you need from me so I can see my girls? I'm a man of I don't know what this means, depressy, it's a misspelling, and I know you're investigators, they've been very kind to me, they did their job. She says, okay, and you say, what do you need from me just so I can go home to see, so I can go see my girls? You remember saying that?
I do remember saying that, sir.
And the truth is, now that you have testified to what they need, they told you to tell the truth, I understand that, you're going to go home and see your girls long before you would have had you been guilty or found guilty of this murder.
Well, that's speculation.
Maybe just staying on the first round.
Do you know that you were facing, well, do you know that Mr. Baker was sentenced to life without parole?
I found out later, yes.
How'd you find out?
I was told
By?
my mother.
How did she find out?
She watches.
Speculation.
Just staying.
All right, but I think at some point you indicated that you found out because it was broadcast on TV, correct?
My mother watches a lot of it.
All right. But you didn't learn anything about Miss Sementilli at that time?
Well, she had mentioned her.
Well, you knew that they were both arrested together. It was all over the news, right?
Based on what I was told, yes.
And the news was that Mr. Baker and Miss Sementilli had been arrested for murder, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you knew Mr. Baker had pled guilty and was sentenced to prison, right?
Yes, sir.
The only one outstanding was Miss Sementilli, who was facing trial, and you, who had not even been arrested yet, right?
Yes, sir.
So you confessed as soon as you were arrested to the murder, but you told them that she had nothing to do with it, you hardly knew her, you never saw her, and it was only because Mr. Baker wanted to rough him up because he was abusive to her, right?
I don't-
Objection compound.
It is.
Distinguished facts not in
All right.
evidence.
I'll withdraw that, thank you. Do you remember saying during one of the interviews, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm looking for some type of deal to go home to my girls. Remember that?
Yes.
And then I thought about it after watching your depictions of TV shows and things like that. And I thought about it, like I don't know what to, but if you need me to do something so I can go home to my girls, whatever you need I'm being accused of, I need to go get home to my girls, Heather. You told that to the district attorney, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the end result is that you're testifying here today, and you are going to see your girls sooner than you would have had you not testified, right?
Objection again, speculation.
The same objection was I sustained before.
Mr. Austin, you described going to the house and after jogging up the street, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how'd you get to that location? Were you driven there?
To the street?
Yeah, where you jogged up and committed the murder.
Yes.
And you were in the trunk, did you say,
Yes, sir.
of a Versa?
Yes, sir.
And you were also covered up with a mask and hoodie, and so no one could identify you, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, did Mr. Baker tell you why he was putting you in the trunk?
He didn't tell me why.
Did you ask?
No.
You had a knife, right?
He gave it to me, yes.
He gave you a knife?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he had a knife, right?
Yes, sir.
Where'd he get that knife from?
I think he bought that knife.
You think he bought that knife?
That was the knife he bought from the, I want to say Walmart.
So he bought his knife from Walmart, correct?
Yes, sir.
When you were with him?
Yes, sir.
And he bought your knife from Walmart also?
I think he already had a knife
So you think he already had a knife?
at his house, yes.
Do you know that?
He's known to collect weapons, so yeah.
So
he
you
had
saw
one.
him buy a knife at Walmart and then give you another knife from his house for you to use, correct?
Yes.
So how many knives that was bought at Walmart in your presence?
1.
But when you gave your proffer with your attorney present to the district attorney, didn't you tell them that at the Walmart Mr. Baker bought 2 knives? Isn't that right?
I think so. Yeah. Did he buy 2?
Do you remember that now?
Yeah. He bought 2 knives.
Yeah, he bought 2 knives.
Yes, sir.
I'm referring to the second proffer, first proffer, page 73.
Well,
77.
I don't object on the purpose. This is a impeachment.
You intend to state that for impeachment purposes?
Yes.
There's no impeachment.
Well, okay. Do you remember describing?
Yeah.
I think this is a separate question.
It's a question. Do you remember describing to the district attorney during the proffer that there was a folding knife and then there was a hunting knife? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you're saying now that Mr. Baker gave you one knife and then bought another one?
How do you mean?
Or did he buy 2 knives there? At Walmart.
Oh, I think he bought 2 knives. But also, no. He bought 2 knives.
But when you met with the district attorney, you said he had one knife and then he bought a second knife. Isn't that right? Didn't you originally tell them that he had one knife and he bought a second knife?
I did.
And then when they showed you a knife, you said, yeah, that's the other knife. I must have bought 2 knives, correct? He must have bought 2 knives.
Well, at some point he would have bought 2 knives.
Did you?
But that night he bought a knife. I remember him buying a knife at Walmart.
Okay. My question is, did you tell them that in the proffer that night he bought 2 knives?
Yes.
Why did
I
you say
think-
he bought 2 knives?
Well, no. He had a knife. I know he had a knife at his house.
Okay.
And I know he gave me a knife.
But we're talking about what he bought at Walmart.
I know he bought a knife at Walmart.
But you ended up telling them he bought 2 knives at Walmart. So which is it, 1 knife or 2 knives?
I don't remember. I think it's 2 knives.
Okay.
I know he had 2 knives.
Let me ask you this: the police or the district attorney or both took you out to try to find one of the knives, correct?
Yes, sir.
This is like 7, 8 years later, correct?
Yes, sir.
Just recently, right?
Yes, sir.
And this was the knife that you threw out of the car?
I didn't say I threw a knife.
Oh, and how did that knife get into the bushes or wherever it was?
I put it there
And when did you put it there?
when I realized I was running with it.
So you were running with it when you got out of the car.
Yes, sir.
After you left the house, you ran down the hill again with Mr. Baker, correct?
No.
I'm sorry, you drove away in the Porsche, correct?
I was in the passenger seat. Yes, sir.
How'd you get out?
What do you mean?
Did he stop and you got out?
He stopped and let me out.
And then when did you get rid of the knife?
Somewhere along the line of my jog.
And you said you were running and running and running and running. It sounded like a lot of running. Was it a lot of running?
Yes.
For what period of time?
And between 5 and 10 minutes.
And you ended up somewhere they showed you at Winnetka, some tunnel or something, correct?
After,
Okay. Where along that route did you get rid of the knife?
in a neighborhood.
And you don't remember what neighborhood.
Well, I went to the neighborhood recently, but I don't remember.
But it
where.
looked entirely different.
Yes, sir.
And you couldn't find it, correct?
That's correct.
And then you said you kept running, and eventually you ended up where?
Close to a bus stop.
All right. And you were going to get in a bus and get the hell out of there, right?
No, I didn't know what I was gonna do.
Mr. Baker showed up.
Yes.
He showed up in what car?
The Nissan.
The Versa?
Yes, sir.
He picked you up, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then he drove you home, right?
To his house. Yes.
So you were never in the Versa when it was leaving the scene of the crime and driving down the street that leads to Ventura Boulevard past the Ralph's Market, were you?
No.
You know what I'm talking about? You know Taft High School and the Ralph's Market?
Recently, I remember seeing Taft High School. Yes.
All right. Did you drive down in the Versa in that car right after the murder?
No.
Are you aware that that Porsche, along with the Versa, was seen exiting, going down that street just a few minutes after the murder?
Objection soon start on the minutes.
Sustained.
No.
So it's your testimony here today that you never drove that Versa down a road that led to Ventura Boulevard, passing Ralph's Market and Taft High School. You never did that.
No, sir.
In fact, the only time you drove the Versa was to follow him home from the bus stop
To follow him to a restaurant.
to a restaurant. And do you remember the route you took from the bus stop to the restaurant?
Objection to state the testimony.
From
No, I'll allow this.
his apartment to the restaurant.
All right. Tell me the route you took from the bus stop to his apartment.
What bus stop?
Did he pick you up at a bus stop after you were running?
Yes, sir.
What did he pick you up in?
The Nissan.
Did you drive home with him?
Yes.
The Porsche was gone.
Yes.
You don't know where it was.
No idea.
When you back, did you stop to eat before you got back to his house?
No.
Right. You went straight to his house.
Yes, sir.
Right. Then what? You were supposed to drive back to the airport?
No.
When did you get the ticket?
When he told me to follow him
Follow him to
restaurant.
his house?
to the restaurant.
To the restaurant. Now, you said that you were in the back of a police car?
I was.
Tell me what happened. You got pulled over with red lights and so forth? Right?
Yes.
Did you have a driver's license?
I did not. Not on me.
So you were a resident of Alaska at that time, correct?
Yes, sir.
With no driver's license
On me.
on you, and a ticket for what?
Seatbelt.
So they stopped you for a seatbelt violation, or they stopped you for another violation and found out you were not wearing a seatbelt?
They stopped me for a seatbelt.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, and then this was how long after the murder?
I don't know.
Well, an hour, 2 hours, half hour, what?
Maybe almost an hour.
Okay. And what happened when they stopped you?
They asked they did their standard protocol, license, registration. I told them
Were you able to show them either one?
no. Registration, yes. License, no.
You know who the car was registered to?
A rental place, Enterprise.
Do you know where that where that car was rented from? The actual Enterprise rental place?
Do I know the
Yeah.
Enterprise? Which building?
Well, how it was rented from Enterprise, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Baker tell you that?
No.
How'd you find out?
Enterprise typically keeps a sticker in their windshield.
Okay.
I took notice.
And do you know someone by the name of Paula,
No.
friend of Mr. Baker's girlfriend?
I might have met her, but I don't remember.
Did he mention her at all regarding the rental car and getting the rental car or anything of that nature?
Said a friend rented it for me. Met him
Your friend
somewhere.
rented it? Okay. So you're in a rental car without a license, and what do, the police?
They asked me to step out of the car and put me in handcuffs.
All right, and where'd they put you?
in the back of a police car.
All right, did they ask you any more questions?
They asked me if my address was off of Catherine Avenue, off of Catherine Avenue. I said I used to live there.
Okay, so somehow they got that from their check of
Database.
you, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you said you used to live there and now you lived in Alaska?
Yes, sir.
Did you give them your address in Alaska?
Yes, sir.
And your contact information, correct?
Yes, sir.
And this was just an hour or two after the murder?
About that, yes, sir.
They ever contact you again, the police or anyone else, until October 2nd,
No, sir.
2024?
No, sir.
When did you get rid of your clothes?
Shortly after Baker picked me up,
And where did you throw those?
I gave them to him, and he threw them in a trash can in a neighborhood somewhere.
Did you see him throw his own clothes there as well?
Yes.
Where was that trash can, as best you recall?
In front of a house.
In front of?
In front of a house.
Any idea in what location compared to where the murder took place?
No.
And then you end up the next day going home, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You changed your ticket,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
You paid cash for the change of the ticket cost, or did you use a credit card at the airport?
Might have used a debit card.
All right.
Might
And
use
that credit
the
card
card.
would have been in your name, is that right?
Yes, sir.
This was nothing that Mr. Baker gave you or bought for you except for reimbursing you, is that right?
Yeah, he just gave me cash.
He just gave you cash, he gave you some coins, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you felt so, well, you described here and shown some emotion over the fact that you were involved in the murder of Fabio Sementilli. Fair statement?
Yes, sir.
And you have felt bad ever since, correct?
Still do.
Right? Bad enough almost to try and commit suicide, correct?
Attempted.
You attempted it. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And obviously it failed.
Yes, sir.
And you didn't try again.
No, I tried.
Okay. Did you ever think, because you felt so bad about what had happened, of notifying the police and telling them that Robert Baker and Monica Sementilli had killed her husband?
No.
Why not?
I was told not to say anything to anybody.
But you said you felt really responsible, right? Right?
I was a part of it.
You were a part of it, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't feel like telling the police who did it and how they did it before you committed suicide.
I felt like telling anybody.
And you didn't.
No, sir.
Did your wife ask you how the trip was down to L.A.?
No.
She didn't?
Well, no, she said everything good, and I said yeah.
Weren't you supposed to be going down for your birthday?
Yes.
And you told her that, correct?
Yes.
And at the time you flew down, you had no idea whether or not Fabio Sementilli was going to be in a house alone or not, or on a trip or anything, correct?
No, sir.
Not correct?
You asked, is that the question?
Yes. Did you know whether or not he was going to be home over that weekend so you could kill him?
Didn't know he was going to be at the house. No.
When did you find out?
When Baker told me.
When did he tell you?
When he picked me up shortly after, within that time frame of driving to his house.
So he picked you up from his residence where you were staying?
Picked me up from the airport.
Right from the airport, right to the house.
Yes, sir.
And did he tell you how he learned that, or why you were going to the Sementilli house at that time?
I'm sorry.
Did he tell you where you were going?
When we was from the airport?
Yes.
No.
Did
He
you
was
know
told-
you were coming down to kill him?
Yeah. I knew.
So why'd you fly down?
So I was hoping it wouldn't even happen.
Did he threaten you in any way, Mr. Baker, with any physical harm or any other harm if you didn't agree to kill Fabio Sementilli?
No. No, sir.
Did Mr. Birdsong threaten you in any way if you didn't agree to kill Fabio Sementilli?
No, sir.
So you get down to the airport, and then you're picked up by Mr. Baker, correct?
Yes, sir.
Driving the Versa, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And he takes you immediately to the Sementilli house.
No, sir.
Where did he take you?
To his house.
So, when you came down, your expectation was you were going to kill him, right?
Objection as to
I'll allow it.
Right?
That's what he expected me to do.
So when you landed at the airport and he picked you up, did you ask him, what's going on? When are we going to do this? How? Where?
Nope.
You didn't care.
He just started filling in information.
I'm sorry?
He just started telling me information.
Like what?
Said, look, I'm gonna text her, let her know everything's still good. He asked me if I was good. I was like, I'm okay.
He was going
And
to
then we
text
got
her and find out if everything was good?
Yes.
Okay, did he tell you what that meant?
No.
And he asked you if everything was good with you.
I said yes.
And that meant, are you ready to go kill him?
No.
What did it mean?
My well-being.
Your what?
My well-being.
Your well-being. But you expected at that point to complete the murder, right?
No.
Isn't that what you came down for?
Yes.
So where'd you go from that point?
To his apartment.
So we're going to interrupt our adjournment this time till tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Remember, tomorrow's a half day. The evidence implies not to discuss this case either among yourselves or with anyone else or form or express any opinion until the cause is finally submitted to you. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow. Somewhere. Mr. Austin, you're still under oath. The defense may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Austin.
Good morning.
Mr. Austin, you discussed yesterday, as I recall, not wanting to really tell the truth until you had an attorney. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir. That's what was advised to me as soon as I met with my attorney.
And when did you first meet with your attorney?
In October and sometime in November.
Were you in Vancouver or were you in Los Angeles?
I was in Los Angeles.
Well, you had an attorney in Vancouver too, didn't you?
Who advised me that extradition was probably better than waiting to come to court.
All right, but that attorney was appointed for you up there?
Yes, sir.
Did you talk to the attorney at all as to whether or not you should talk to the authorities up in Vancouver and answer their questions?
The attorney in Vancouver advised that I waive extradition and say, come, go ahead and say you're ready to come. And that's what happened.
Well, I understand that, but you were interviewed several times up in Vancouver,
Several.
right? You talked to Miss Stagel and the two officers behind me. They interviewed you up in Vancouver, right?
On the 2nd of October, yes.
Yes. And you had conversations with the Perkins individual in the cell for about 5 or 6 hours. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't tell the truth to any of them, right? About Ms. Sementilli being involved in anything.
I didn't tell them everything, no.
Well, the one thing you left out was Ms. Sementilli, correct?
Yes.
That's the only thing you left out, right?
I left out a lot of details to them.
Well, but you told them up there that you had killed Mr. Sementilli, the motherfucker, as you put it, you called him, right?
That's what I told them.
But you had stabbed him, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You confessed to the murder, correct?
I confess to being a part of it.
And you confessed to being part of it with Mr. Baker and Mr. Birdsong.
Yes.
So the only thing you left out was including Miss Sementilli. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Why did you just leave her out and tell them about Baker and Birdsong and yourself?
It wasn't until the detective took my DNA that, at that time, in my mind, they knew everything. So why even play with them?
Why even play with them?
That was my thought.
What do you mean by play with them?
There's no point in playing games with somebody who flew up from Los Angeles to pull me over and have me arrested on my way to work.
So you knew, whether it was DNA or anything else, that when they came all the way up to Vancouver to interview you, you knew they had you, right?
I knew they knew something.
Well, what did you think they knew?
I don't know.
Well, they told you what they knew, right?
Pretty much.
And you told them, more important, what you did.
Yes.
So whatever they told you was enough to get you to say that you had stabbed and killed, along with Mr. Baker, Fabio Sementilli, an individual you never knew, you didn't even know his name, right?
Not at the time, no.
You didn't confess to them that you killed Fabio Sementilli when you were up in Vancouver?
I thought I told you yes earlier.
Told me what earlier?
Yes.
You did, right?
Yes, sir.
So you knew they had you on first-degree murder charges.
No.
What'd you think?
I thought they wanted to ask me some questions.
And why did you think they wanted to ask you some questions?
Well, I would imagine.
I want to know what you were thinking at the time, or imagining. Go on.
At the time, if you pull me over on my way to work, then 9 times out of 10, they probably saw my phone number with Mr. Baker's phone number. So, I'm an honest guy. I had turned my life around. So, why even bother playing with them? Their flight arrangements, the amount of time they took to come out here.
Exactly. And so you decided they got you, why play around? They've got your phone records with Mr. Baker. You're going to tell them the truth, right?
Yes.
But one thing you didn't know if they had was any evidence tying you to Miss Sementilli.
I figured they probably combined everything. I just didn't tell them everything until I got an attorney present to advise me on the proper way to proceed.
Well, you asked for an attorney while you were up in Vancouver, didn't you?
I believe.
There's a site here where it says you're talking to the Perkins guy.
Objection is
I haven't really heard the question. Are you going to bring in a statement?
Statement of Mr. Austin.
Can we approach him?
All right.
So when you were up in Vancouver, at one point, you said, I told him I have to get a different attorney. Remember that?
I remember saying that in the form of a question.
Okay. And you talked to an attorney up there, right, about extradition?
Yes, sir.
Objection vague is the time.
It's oral.
Okay. So my question to you is, they told you that they wanted to talk to you then, up in Vancouver, if you were willing to talk to them. And that's Ms. Stagel, Detective Byers, Detective Farrell. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
So you had a choice. Either talk to them or not talk to them, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you had already been talking to the Perkins individual and saying all sorts of things about what you did and so forth, and what you should do and whether you should get the bitch, and talked about Monica and all that. You already had those conversations with the Perkins individual, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you didn't know the Perkins individual was working for the police and was going to tell them everything you said.
No, sir, I did not.
You didn't know that that was all tape recorded, so they would end up knowing everything you said, and we'd end up knowing it. You didn't know that either.
No, sir, I did not.
Okay. Well, you thought you had a choice, your own choice, whether to speak to the detectives and the DA, Ms. Daigle, or not. Right?
Yes.
And I read you a lot of quotes yesterday where you basically were saying, both to the Perkins guy and to the DAs, I got to get back and see my daughter. I got to get home and see my wife. That's the only way I'm going to do it. So I'm going to talk to you, right?
Yes, sir.
You even said, tell me what you need. Right?
Yes, sir.
What did you mean by tell me what you need?
I don't know what else to say. Like, tell me what you need. You need me to stand on one foot? I'll stand on one foot.
Okay. Well, they didn't want you to stand on one foot, but they wanted you to give them evidence against Miss Sementilli, right?
They wanted to know the truth of what happened.
Okay. And did you tell them the whole truth as to what happened?
Not when I was in Washington.
Okay. But you did tell them about what you did and how you killed Fabio Sementilli, correct?
I did tell them my participation.
And you told them about Mr. Baker's participation, correct?
Yes, sir.
He got you into it, right?
Via defendant, yes.
Via the defendant.
Yes.
The defendant asked you to kill Fabio Sementilli?
Through Baker, yes.
That's what Baker told you, you say, right?
Yes.
And you told that to the police.
Yes.
You told the police and the detective up in Vancouver that Miss Sementilli was involved?
I don't think I told them that until I got here.
Okay. So that's my question. You asked them what they needed, right?
Yes, sir.
And you knew they needed Miss Sementilli. They, you know, the bitch is the only one they don't got. She's going to trial. Baker's already been convicted, blah, 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 right?
Based on what the information they presented to me.
So you knew the only one they did not have any evidence against was Monica Sementilli.
I did not know that.
Sustained.
I was unaware of it.
Well, then you tell me, when you talked to them up in Vancouver, you told them that you killed Fabio Sementilli, correct?
Yes.
You told them that you did that because Mr. Baker asked you to do it, correct?
Yes.
You told them that Mr. Birdsong was involved, correct?
Yes.
But the whole time up in Vancouver, you never told them that Monica Sementilli told Mr. Baker to do it or had met with Mr. Baker or had anything to do with it. Isn't that right?
Yes.
In fact, you told them that you didn't even know you were going to kill him. The first thing you learned when you landed in L.A. was we're just going to rough him up a little bit.
Yes.
That was a lie.
Yes, it was.
Well, why did you tell them you were just going to rough him up a little bit and then tell them that you stabbed him in the neck?
Have you ever been pulled over with six people on your way to work, and then 2 detectives come talk to you?
I'm trying to remember. No, sir, I have not. But I'm just
Okay.
asking about what
So-
happened to you, and I'm talking about up in Seattle not being pulled over on the way to work. In Seattle, or Vancouver, I'm sorry, you had several detectives. These 2 gentlemen here, correct? Bias and Farrell.
Yes.
They didn't mistreat you, did they?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Well, you were there.
No.
They didn't drag you out of a car or anything.
No, they did not.
Miss Stagel didn't drag you out of a car or anything.
No, she did not.
Okay, they had you in a room, right?
Yes.
And they made it clear all they wanted was the truth, and they made it clear they needed evidence against Miss Sementilli. right?
They didn't mention that. They said, we know what happened. We want to know what happened in between.
And when they said, we know what happened, you assumed they knew everything about the case, correct?
Yes, sir.
Including the involvement you're saying now and yesterday of Miss Sementilli.
Yes, sir.
So all you were doing up there was confirming to them what you thought they already knew.
Yes, sir.
And you did confirm to them what you thought they already knew, right?
Yes, sir.
You told them about flying down, correct?
Yes, sir.
First you lied and said it was for roughing up, but then you changed that, right?
Yes, sir.
And you told him it was a plan to kill him, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the plan was with Baker and Birdsong, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you went out and you bought, first you said one knife, then you said two knives. Did they buy one knife or two knives? Okay. And you told them everything about the murder, including your guilt in first-degree murder by stabbing him in the neck, correct?
Yes, sir.
But you left one thing out with them.
I left a lot of things out with them.
You tell me what you left out with them.
I left out the day I landed. I left out.
I'm sorry, what?
I left out the day I landed. I left out
The
what
day
the plan.
you landed, you left out? You didn't tell them you flew down and then you went to the house and Baker told you that he was just going to rough him up? You told him that.
Yes, I did.
You told him that Baker paid for the ticket, correct?
I did.
You told him you were coming down the day before for your birthday?
After.
What did you leave out that was important?
I left out the night that we got there, that he was supposed to go to the store and get some food.
Okay.
I left out.
Hold on 1 second, please. Glad you brought that up. When you were talking to the detectives up there and even to the Perkins guy, did you ever mention that what you're saying now, that the night before you went out there with Baker to try to kill him?
No, I did not.
And why not?
Again, I didn't have an attorney present to advise me on proper counsel.
And then when you got an attorney down here in Los Angeles, then you told him for the first time that you had been brought out there the night before, right?
I told him the second time he met with me, everything.
The second time he met with you. You didn't tell him the first time.
Not in like complete full detail.
Did you lie to him the first time?
Didn't tell him anything the first time, so I didn't lie to him.
Well, eventually you ended up telling the prosecution exactly what they wanted to hear. Isn't that true?
The truth?
You told them that for the first time up here that Monica Sementilli was involved some way in the murder, correct?
Yes, sir.
Even though you had only met her at the gym and at the LA Fitness, correct?
Yes, sir.
Even though you had never spoken to her other than to say hello, correct?
Yes, sir.
Even though you were never looking at the phone or any text messages when Mr. Baker was talking, correct?
How do you mean?
You never saw him talk to Monica Sementilli where you heard her voice or you saw text messages.
That is correct.
So what you told them was that Mr. Baker had gone into another room, sometimes was talking and came out and said to you, she wants him dead. She's giving me information. She's telling me what she wants. That's what you told them.
That's what I told him.
For the first time.
Yes, sir.
That you had never told him in Vancouver to the Perkins guy or to the officers there.
That is correct.
And the reason you told him that was if you did not tell him that, and you knew this, you were not going to get a deal. Isn't that right?
No, that is not right.
Well, you haven't gotten a deal yet before you brought in Miss Sementilli, had you?
No, I did not.
It was only after you mentioned Miss Sementilli that the district attorney's office said, we'll get back to you. And then a few days or whatever, they came back to you through your attorney, and then they made you this offer.
Wasn't a guarantee that I was going to get one at all.
No, it wasn't a guarantee. Depended on what you said, right?
Yes.
And you knew at that time, whether it was from your attorney or anywhere else, you knew you had to tell them that Monica Sementilli was involved in some way in order for you to get your deal. Isn't that right?
I knew I had to tell them the truth, sir.
Okay. And you're saying that's the truth now.
That is the truth.
And you, for the first time, said that you went out the night before to kill Fabio, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, why didn't you tell them that in Vancouver or to the Perkins guy? Didn't involve her.
I did not have an attorney present to tell them everything.
So you told them that you stabbed him and you killed him, but you didn't tell them you went out the night before and did nothing.
That is correct.
Why would you leave that out?
I did not have an attorney present for proper counsel.
Did you have an attorney present up there when you confessed to first-degree murder?
Objection soon stop on evidence
Sustain.
and illegal imprisonment.
That's the thing.
Did you have an attorney up there when you confessed to stabbing Fabio Sementilli in the neck and killing him?
No, I did not.
Why did you tell him that without an attorney?
All the years I spent working with high-risk youth, I always told them, I was like, I can't ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. And they got to stand in it. And so that is what I did. I stood in what I did. And I let the chips fall wherever they may.
You told the truth.
I told a partial truth.
Well, you didn't have an attorney with you, right?
Objection asked and answered.
Yes, it is going over.
So you told them a partial truth, which was you committed murder by stabbing somebody in the neck, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
I love this question.
Yes.
And the partial you left out was any evidence involving Monica Sementilli, isn't that
Objection
right?
asked and answered.
Cumulative. Sustained.
Okay. The whole time you were up in Vancouver without an attorney, and you're saying you told them the partial truth. In other words, you left out Miss Sementilli, correct?
Yes.
You told them that and Baker told you you were only going up there to rough him up. And he told you that the day you landed at the airport and drove over to the Sementilli house, correct?
Objection states the testimony.
It's overruled.
Can you ask that again, please?
You landed in Los Angeles the day before the murder, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Baker at some point drove you up to the house where Mr. Sementilli, you were told, was home alone, correct?
Objection vague is his time.
Overruled.
When I landed,
Was it that day or the next day?
it was the next day.
Okay. Between the time you landed and the next day, did he change anything about you were going to kill Mr. Sementilli?
Objection vague.
Overruled.
What do you mean?
The next day, did you go to the house with him
I did.
and you put you in the trunk and you had knives and all of that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And why did you go there that night, as far as you knew, that day?
Objection cumulative.
I love this.
With all the detail that I knew already, Baker said, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. Trust me. Just go with me, and I'll take care of everything.
Okay.
So I went with him.
But you left something out, what Baker told you, didn't you?
I left a lot out what Baker told me. Baker also told me not to mention her.
Okay, not to mention her, right? But he also told you that you were just going up there with him to rough him up because she'd been mistreated by her husband, correct?
He told me that that he was abusive.
He was abusive and you were going there to rough him up. That's what you told the detectives up in Vancouver and you told the Perkins guy, correct?
That is correct.
Was that the truth?
No, it was not.
Why did you lie about that?
Because I did not have an attorney present to give me proper counsel. And I didn't know them to tell them anything in the cell.
And then you went on and told them that you stabbed him in the neck.
After I talked to the detectives.
Did you change it and tell them it wasn't just to rough him up, it was to kill him?
I remember telling him it was to rough him up, yes.
Well, how did it get
Okay.
from roughing him up to killing him? Did he resist in any way?
Who?
Mr. Sementilli.
A
Do you
little.
think-
I think a little, yeah.
Well, how did he
But Baker started stabbing him already, so.
defend himself? Do you remember?
I remember he was sitting in a chair.
Okay. And?
Baker had already covered his mouth and pinned him down to the chair.
He had what?
Baker had already covered his mouth and pinned him to the chair, and I had already covered his eyes, and Baker had started stabbing, so he didn't have a chance to really defend himself. It
So-
happened really fast.
1, 2, 3, boom, you got in there, right? He wanted it fast, Baker.
Yes.
And 1, 2, 3, you got into the Porsche, right?
About that, yeah. It was quick. It was really fast.
Really fast. But it wasn't roughing him up, it was killing him.
Yes, sir.
So my only question to you is, you admitted killing him, why did you tell the officers and the district attorney in Vancouver that Baker told you the day you landed that you were only there to rough him up?
Because I did not have an attorney present to advise me proper counsel on what to say. I knew they knew something, but I gave them partial truth.
You didn't have a proper counsel to tell you what to say.
To advise me.
And eventually you found out what to say when you came to Los Angeles, didn't you?
Sustain.
And eventually you came to Los Angeles, you got your attorney, and then you added that Monica Sementilli knew all about this because that's what Baker told you.
My attorney talked to me with with a partner and said, "You cannot BS me. You need to tell me everything."
Okay.
And I asked and confirmed, like, "So are you my actual attorney?"
Why'd you
Are you
want to
sure?
know if he was your...
You may finish your statement, sir.
I wanted to know. I asked him to confirm, "Are you my actual attorney, or am I going to get a new one?" Because I had met a different attorney prior, so I didn't know who to tell anything. He said, "I am assigned to you. You are my attorney," and I started telling him everything.
And what was the purpose of your talking to the police and to the DA here in Los Angeles at all? You'd already confessed to them in Vancouver, right?
My attorney advised me what a proper meeting was, and he told me I cannot hold back anything.
And you had already said to the Perkins guy and to the DA up north, in Vancouver, I'll give them whatever they want. What do you need? What do you need? Remember saying that?
I do.
Was that the truth? You would give them whatever they wanted so you could go see your wife and kid again?
Yeah.
Okay. So you knew the proffer was your chance to tell them what they needed so you could get your deal. Isn't that right?
How do you mean?
I mean, you didn't have a deal. They didn't say we're going to give you a deal if you just tell us what you told us in Vancouver, where you confessed to the murder.
No.
You knew that what the deal had to be is you had to give them Monica Sementilli. Isn't that right?
I was advised to tell them the whole truth. Don't hold anything back.
And you were told that if you didn't add Monica Sementilli to what you told them, there would be no deal. Isn't that right?
That is not what I was told.
Well, that's the only thing you changed, right?
That's what I added.
That's what you added. So why didn't you just say, hey, it's what I told you up in Seattle. We went there, we were going to rough him up, got out of hand, I killed him, I stabbed him. That was the end of it. Why didn't you just say that?
Objection,
It is, as well as argumentative.
All right. Mr. Austin, let
Yes,
me
sir.
go back to a few things to shed some light on this, I believe. When you spoke to the district attorney up here in Los Angeles, at one point, you were asked, might there have been other people on these calls when you guys were having these conversations 4 to 5 months before the murder? Remember being asked that by Ms. Silverman?
Yes, sir.
So she was asking you if someone else besides Baker and Birdsong were in on the calls, right?
Yes, sir.
And you said, possibly, I did. Remember?
Yes, sir.
So when she asked you if there are other people on these calls, you said, possibly.
Yes, sir.
You didn't say Miss Sementilli was on the call then, did you?
No, I did not.
And then the question was, I'm sorry, you did what? And your answer was, more, dash, dash. I did a lot of tuning out. What do you mean by that, a lot of tuning out?
When they started talking, I was either cleaning, watching TV, walking around.
So you were basically saying when they were asking you who else was on these calls, you were basically saying, I don't know, I was tuning out, right?
When I was asked were there other people on the calls, and I said possibly, that was the truth. It could have been more people on the call. I wouldn't have known if they don't say anything.
And Miss Stagel said, yeah, and then Miss Silverman said, that's not going to fly. Remember that?
Yes.
Well, what do you think she meant when she said, that's not going to fly?
Objection, speculation.
Sustain.
Well, you took that to mean you better remember more than just I kind of tuned out.
Objection, argument.
And after you were told that's not going to fly, then you started telling him that Monica Sementilli was in on the calls because that's what Baker told you, right?
Yes.
Before then, you hadn't told him that, had you?
I hadn't told them much of anything.
Well, you started off with you didn't remember much because you were tuning out. And then you changed that to Monica Sementilli. Remember that? I'll move on, Your Honor. Now, at some point, you were also advised by the prosecution after you made some statement not involving Miss Sementilli, Ms. Stagel said, I don't disbelieve you. I don't think anyone does. There's just, there's a lot of factors. We're set to go to trial, and it's Monica. And it's like we're putting it all together, and there's, you added some information that we may know, but we didn't know for sure. So it's, I see the value that you've added. Let me put it that way.
Objection to hearsay.
It's witness to substantive conduct. It's overruled.
You've added value to the case as an overall and putting the case, as far as the whole picture. So you've been cooperative. You've added value. That goes a long way. Again, not a promise, but it means something. Every case I've done, the detectives have done is different. Every single one is different. There is when you say, what have you seen? Well, I haven't seen what. How you portrayed right now and the remorse you've shown. I haven't seen that a lot, but again, every single case is different. And you've helped us to define more or less, your thoughts, your role, so we can see where you're coming from. So we're just trying to get the truth in what happened. And you said, I'm telling you the truth. And she said, no, I believe you. I believe you. Remember being told that?
Yes, sir.
And because we know we've got one other person to try, and that's Monica, we know there wouldn't be you without Monica. What did you think that meant? There wouldn't be you without Monica.
I let her finish her statement.
Pardon?
I let her finish her statement.
All right. So we believe that you got brought into this. We do believe you. I think everyone believes that this isn't what you intended, long time before, if that's what you're saying. But at some point, you got brought into the loop. I think we just need an understanding and the truth and what you've already told the detectives about your role. Remember that?
Yes.
But what you had told the detectives about your role already didn't involve Miss Sementilli, right?
No.
It did not, correct?
What I told the detectives, I didn't tell them everything.
And after talking to the prosecutors here, you decided, for whatever reason, if you didn't add Miss Sementilli, you were not going to get your deal.
I decided to tell them the truth of what I knew.
But you knew if you did not add Miss Sementilli, there was no deal. You knew that, didn't you? Yes or no?
I decided to tell them the truth of what I knew.
After you had not told the truth any time before.
I hadn't told anybody before.
Do you recall being asked a question during this proffer? Now at that moment, this is page 90, now at that moment, did you know that she was in Las Vegas at the same time? This is talking about going to Las Vegas in July of 2016.
Counsel, the first day or the second day?
Proffer 1, 90.
Line?
I don't have the line on this printout. Sorry.
One second. Okay, page 90.
This is the one Mr. Proffer. Mr. Austin, I'm trying to get to the point where you start telling them that Ms. Sementilli was involved. Okay?
Okay.
In the beginning of your proffer with the detectives, and there was 2 days of a proffer, right?
Yes, sir.
You broke for 1 day and then you came back the next day, correct?
A couple days after.
And you didn't, from the beginning, start telling them Monica Sementilli was involved. You didn't say that till later on in the proffer. Isn't that true? after you talk to your attorney some more?
I believe so.
You believe
Every
I'm sorry.
everything that I told him came from Baker via Monica from his cell phone. Everything that I was told, he didn't move until he got a text message. So when he got a text message about the killing of Mr. Fabio, everything he did after he got a text message, which told me that he was talking to her via text message. I did not hear him talk to her on the phone. I did not talk to her on the phone. But everything that happened in sequence was after he talked to her. I got pulled in because I don't know why I got pulled in, but I got pulled in. Like a dummy, I went with him. He told me, I won't let anything happen to you. You're not from here. No one's looking for you. And that's what I've been told.
Well, he was wrong, right? Something did happen to you.
Very much so.
Right. You got arrested. Right?
I got arrested?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And you were interviewed several times before the proffer, correct?
So let's move on.
I'm trying to find out when it was that you switched your testimony to what you're saying now, which is what you said yesterday.
Didn't
from the
switch my
time-
testimony, didn't tell them anything until I talked to my attorney and he told me, you cannot BS, you have to tell them everything. So, you're asking me to remember something from 8 years ago. I barely remember what I ate for breakfast 2 weeks ago. With that being said, I did the best of my ability to recount from 2016 in July when I went to Vegas to have a good time, so I thought. And then conversation came up. And when conversation came up, I knew too much. He had told me that before, in the past. When you know too much, you can't say anything. So I didn't say anything. I did everything that Baker asked me to do.
Okay. But you didn't tell everybody what you're telling us now.
No, I did not.
And here on page 90, you're asked a question during the proffer in Vegas about Monica. Now, at that moment, did you know that she was in Vegas at the same time? No. That
No, I
whole
didn't.
trip then, did you find out she was in Vegas at some point? No, I don't think. I don't really remember that piece. That was at the proffer with your lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Was that the truth? You didn't see her? You didn't talk to her? You didn't know who she was?
Objection. Compel argumentative.
So stand on the first ground.
Did you tell them when they asked, did you know that she was in Vegas at the same time? Did you say no?
I said no. I
Is
did
that
not.
the truth?
That's the truth.
She wasn't in Vegas.
I don't think so, but I might have met her there.
Next question. That whole trip, did you find out she was in Vegas at some point? Answer. No, I don't think. I don't really remember that piece. Was that the truth?
That's the truth.
Well, haven't you told us now that she was in Vegas and that's when you started planning?
I told
Stand.
Okay.
what I said.
Here's another quote from the proffer. Question. Page 51.
1 second, what line?
I don't have the line. It's on page 51.
Well, hold on then, please.
Certainly.
I'll have to search for it.
Certainly. I didn't realize the numbers on the side were the lines. It's line 8 to 20 to 20. It's been a while, Your Honor. Mr. Austin,
Yes, sir.
this was a question of yours. At the proffer, with your lawyer, when you knew you had to tell the truth, right?
Yes, sir.
Question, was there anybody else in these conversations 4 to 5 months before the murder involving how to do it, causing harm to Monica's husband besides you, Robert Baker, and Al Birdsong? Answer, I don't know. I don't remember other than us three. Other than us. Question, 3? Answer. Other than us 3, I think. Question, you think? Answer. Like who else? Like you're asking me who else? Question, was on the calls. I honestly don't remember. I'm not trying to lie to you. Was that the truth?
Yes, sir.
So you didn't know who was on the calls?
No, sir, I did not.
You didn't know Monica Sementilli was on the calls?
I did not know if she was or not.
Didn't you tell us in court just now and yesterday that Baker told you she was on the calls?
Objection states testimony.
It's overruled.
I don't know if I recall that.
Didn't you just say that?
I don't know if I recall that. She might have said possibly. I didn't hear her voice.
But here you said the only one on the calls was the 3 of you.
That I heard, yes.
Well, how did you know that she was involved in it?
Objection failed.
Overruled.
How'd you know that she was involved in it?
Baker told me she wanted him dead.
Let's go to the proffer, page 54, lines 12 to 28. You knew the proffer was being recorded, correct?
I was informed.
What? 1 minute. Page 50,
4.
12 to 28.
Yeah.
I don't think that's there. Page 152.
Page 64, I'm sorry.
On the first day or the second day, counsel?
Proffer 1, first day. Sorry, Mr. Birdsong. Page
His
60.
name is not Mr. Birdsong,
I'm sorry,
counsel.
Mr. Austin. I double apologize.
Words.
Okay, here's the questions and answers by you. My question to you is, did you and Baker...
1 moment.
My question to you is, did you and Baker discuss the fact that Monica wanted her husband dead prior to the time that you came to L.A.? Answer, yes. What did Baker tell you about that? Answer, he told me from what I can recall, well, she doesn't like him. She's going to come into some money. Question, she's going to come into some money? Question, what does that mean? Answer, I'm assuming if he dies, she is going to get some money for it. Is that what Baker said? Yes. Question, if her husband dies, she'll come into money? Yes. Okay, so that was part of the conversation with Birdsong? Was that also part of the conversation with Birdsong? Remember that?
Yes, sir, I do.
So, he didn't tell you anything about insurance money, did he?
Objection vague as to time.
Overruled.
And vague as to who.
Overruled.
Not until after.
Not till after what?
After he passed away.
After you killed him, he told you then it was going to be insurance money.
Yeah.
But here you said, I'm assuming if she dies, she's going to get some money for it. Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
So you were never told you were going to get money from anything. You were assuming when she dies, you'll get it, correct?
That was my recollection at the time. They asked me to go backwards. So I went backwards to that train of thought.
Do you
Not what I
remember?
know today.
Do you remember saying, I'm assuming they were going to try to pay me, but they didn't say the amount?
Yes.
Baker said he's going to get her to give me some money for
King
Victim's
counsel,
wife.
Page, lines, and straight.
Page 1, offer 1, page 68. May I proceed? You said, I'm assuming they were going to try to pay me, but they didn't say the amount. Baker said he's going to get her to give me some money. I'll get Monica to get you some money. You trusted Baker. Is that what happened?
Yes, sir.
So nothing about getting insurance money again. Before the murder.
No, sir.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Austin. You were asked a question on page 73, line 6. If you can, and when you say he, like, let us know who, because now we are kind of diverted a little bit. Can he tell us, if you're okay with it, Beth, just kind of like he picked you, what the conversation was? Like, just tell us straight through. And then she can go back and, like, ask you some specifics. She meant Miss Silverman, right?
Yes, sir.
They were both there. And you know what we're looking for is like, and you say, I know, you know what we're looking for is like, who's talking to who? How do you know? And you answer, I want to make sure I get what you're asking. Question, I know. Answer, 4. Mr. Aval, your lawyer, says truthfully. You say truthfully. Ms. Stagel says right, and you say, I don't want to. Oh yeah, that happened. And then you say yes, and I just say yeah. Ms. Stagel, yeah, right. We want to know why, specifics. And you say, I don't want to do that. Why'd you say that?
Because I was trying to remember what they were, when they asked me the question, I was trying to remember everything that took place. The pause makes it seem like I'm making things up when I'm actually just trying to remember and give them the... Yeah.
Going on, question, if you could do it in your words, just kind of walk us through when he picked you up maybe, and then we can go back so that from your words you can kind of tell us, and you know what we're asking you is the conversation about the planning and who was involved in it and how you knew things. And you said, I knew things mostly from Baker. Question, okay, and if you just go through it then, question by Miss Silverman. So you also said Birdsong was on the phone and giving, and you say Bird, I did, but in that sense that was more coaching, because again I was on a need to know. So when they talked about it, question, what do you mean by a need to know? Question,
Objection, there's no question of payment.
This is only too far afield. Ask your question, Counsel.
Didn't you say they're only telling me parts like I've never talked to Monica other than meeting her, I'm cool, this is what I do? Did you say that?
Yes.
And when you met her, I was just being myself and pleasant. I don't know what's going on at this time. Right?
Yes.
That's what you want to know, you said, right?
That's what I said.
So the truth is, you never spoke to Monica or saw her, and Mr. Baker never told you anything that she said. Isn't that true?
Yeah, break it up.
Truth is, you never spoke to Monica about this case at any time, either on the phone, in person, or anywhere else.
That is correct.
And the only thing that you added when you moved up here was that Mr. Baker told you this, right?
Can you ask me that again, please?
Let me move on. I think we've gone through that. When you got to town, You went back to Baker's house, is that correct?
Objection, vague is the time.
The morning of the murder, when you came,
Very well.
the morning before the murder, when you first flew in, who picked you up?
Baker
Where did he take you?
Objection, cumulative.
Sustained.
to his apartment.
Sorry, sir, when I say you sustain, it means you don't answer.
Thank you, sir.
And from the apartment, then you went to the store?
Objection, cumulative.
Sustained.
Well, when did you go to the store to buy the knife?
Objection, cumulative.
This I'll allow.
Sometime maybe after 12
Where'd you go?
to a Walmart, I believe.
Baker already had one knife, is that right?
Objection, cumulative.
That we sustained.
The knife that was bought at Walmart that you were asked. But the knife that was bought at Walmart with you present, you used for the murder, is what kind of knife?
Objection, no question pending.
Remember your answer?
Very well.
Are you asking me what knife was bought at Walmart?
Yeah.
Counsel, page 1, please.
Page 76.
Lines.
Offer one.
Question was, you remember your answer? You remember your answer?
Yes, pocket knife.
A pocket.
Pocket folding knife.
Pocket folding. And then you were shown a knife, is that right?
I was.
And you said that's the one. And the question was, is this the knife you bought with you? And you said, I think so.
Yes, sir.
Is that the right answer? I think so.
Yes, sir.
But you wouldn't call this a folding knife, you call it a honey knife.
Excuse me?
You called it a honey knife, didn't you?
I called it a what?
Honey knife.
No, I did not. That was a folding knife.
That was gonna say. You only bought one knife with them, or did you buy more than one? Remember that question?
I believe.
Where's that sort of power? Where's over with?
Remember?
Yes.
And then you said, I think there were two knives. You bought two knives that night? I think so, yes. What was the other knife? That was a hunting knife, right?
Yes.
So first you thought he bought one knife, then you thought he bought two knives. Right?
That's what I thought, yes.
So what's the answer, the correct answer, if you know?
The correct answer is there were two knives during this situation.
I understand that, but my question is, how many knives did Mr. Baker buy the night of the murder? Or the day before the murder?
Two? Maybe he had one at the house?
So there were 3 knives total?
Pause.
Is that right?
Where did you hear that?
I'm asking you. He had one at the house, right?
He might have had the one at the house. He might have bought 2 at Walmart. That's a long time ago. I don't remember really. I know we went to Walmart to purchase a knife or 2.
A knife or 2.
There were 2 knives.
And you know which one of them you used?
Yes.
Which one?
I think I had like the hunting style.
Hunting style?
I think so.
Is that the knife you threw away?
Yes.
Did you see what happened with Mr. Baker's knife?
No.
Did you ever see that knife again that day?
No.
Did you ask him what you do with your knife?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you ask him what he did with his knife?
No, I did not.
You said you both took off all your clothes, right, and threw them in a dumpster?
Yes.
So were you naked?
No.
But what clothes did you throw off? Take off?
The clothes that you seen in the picture that we jogged up in.
What were you wearing underneath?
I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
Mr. Baker?
Maybe the same.
You're not sure?
He put my head down in between my legs, told me not to look up while he was driving. Both times.
When you got to the, well, what car did Mr. Baker pick you up in?
Which time?
At the airport when you came down there.
I think the rental.
What if I told you the rental wasn't rented until the day of the murder?
That's not.
So by the rental, you mean the Versa Nissan, correct?
Yes, sir.
So it's your memory that he picked you up at the airport the day before in the Versa Nissan.
Yes, sir.
And then he took you where?
To his apartment.
And that's when you went to the Walmart, bought the knives?
Objection cumulative.
Sustained.
And then that night you said that something happened at a parking lot, is that right?
The night I was picked up,
Yeah.
nothing happened in a parking lot.
Nothing happened that night in a strip mall?
No.
You didn't go out to kill Mr. Baker? I mean, would have been nice. If you killed Mr. Sementilli?
It was arranged via text message that he was going to be sent to the store to get something.
So you did go out that night to kill Mr. Sementilli?
Thought the question was, did something happen?
Well, isn't trying to murder someone happen?
Objection
No.
argumentative.
Sustained.
So he took you out there, is that right?
Yes.
Now you understand that these phones sometimes can be electronically traced to where you are at a certain time. Did you know that?
Objection relevance.
Still rule.
You know, these ping towers and so forth.
Yes, sir.
It's one of the reasons you didn't want to carry a phone with you that night?
I was instructed not to.
Okay, but Mr. Baker carried his phone.
Yes.
And you arrived at the, what do you call it, the location?
I don't.
No, you call it a strip mall or a, what do you call it?
It was the back of a strip mall.
Okay. And you said in one of your interviews that there was a Ralph's Market there. Remember that?
Yes.
And you're sure of that? To the best of your memory?
At the time? Yes.
Yeah, a Ralph's Market there at the time.
That's what I said.
On what street?
I have no clue.
You know how you got there?
Got where? To the Ralphs?
Yes.
Baker drove.
And you say you showed on a map that he parked on the other side of the parking lot. There was a long parking lot, correct?
That was not a Ralphs behind that parking lot.
There wasn't a Ralph's in that parking lot?
It was behind the strip mall.
The Ralph's was behind the strip mall? I'll slow down. Where was the Ralph's?
I don't know. I was wrong
Can we have
about that.
there's a photograph or two, Your Honor, that was marked in evidence. I wonder if I could, use those. This is 249 page, this is 249 page 1. Recognize that?
Yes, sir.
You say you were standing by the UPS store?
Yes, sir.
What does this circle mean?
That's where the victim was parked.
And this is another photograph. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Number 2. This is number 3 is a wider photograph of the strip mall. Can you show us the route you took to get from where Mr. Baker parked?
Not from this picture.
I'm told there's a better picture of this. Mr. Babbage is correct. This is always number 4 of the exhibit 249. You recognize this location?
Yes, sir.
Can you show us where Mr. Baker parked with the pointer? No, I'm sorry.
No, I cannot.
Which side of this? It was in the back, correct?
Yes, sir.
Where was the route?
There is no Rouse.
I thought you said the strip mall had a route.
I said I thought it was a Rouse at first.
Didn't you also, in your statement to the district attorney and the police, say that Baker said that she was sending him to a grocery store?
From what I could remember at that time, that's what I was trying to do, remember exactly where.
And you said a grocery store,
Yes,
and you said a route.
I did.
You were wrong about both.
Yes.
Can you show me, tell me when to stop? This is the back of the, that's the strip mall. This is the strip mall, that's the UPS store. You see that?
Yes, sir.
So did Baker park somewhere behind this row of buildings?
Yes, sir.
On this side or this side?
Can you go down or go back? Go back toward the cars. Can you go back toward the cars?
This way?
Yes, sir. Keep going. Stop right there. Go down. Right. I think that's a dumpster.
Is this green little circle, do you see that?
I think that's where he parked, but he let me out by a dumpster.
Where's the dumpster?
Go down. No.
That's
I think there was a dumpster somewhere in that corner.
Now we got it right. Four direction, that's the one. So he went away from the strip mall?
He let me out by a dumpster and then parked in a parking space where the green mark is.
Okay, and then where did you go?
I walked there, and then there's an alleyway through there, and I just walked through the pillars.
Well, there's a little alleyway or path that goes right from here to the mall, isn't there?
I don't know if that's an opening.
So you walk all the way around here,
Yes,
and then Mr. Sementilli parked here, where the circle is?
one of those parking spaces.
Okay. And did you see him as you were walking?
And when I walked along the way, I looked into the shop and saw he was in there purchasing food.
You looked into the phone,
Yes, sir.
and you saw him purchasing food.
Yes, sir.
You were out there with your knife.
I was out there with a knife. Yes.
Same knife you used in the murder the next day?
Yes.
So where did you wait for him? Come out of the store.
I was by the UPS store when he came out.
So you walked all the way down to the UPS store, close to the Ventura Boulevard?
Yes,
Why'd you do that?
because he was in the store buying food.
Well, but the restaurant's right here, and you parked right there, correct?
Somewhere over there, yes.
Well, why did you walk all the way down to the UPS store?
Because he was in the restaurant buying food.
And you thought that was the best place for you to wait for him?
Didn't wait. I walked down and walked back.
So you walked down and walked back. What was he doing?
Once he came out of the store, he got into his truck and drove off.
And then what did you do?
I walked back to the car.
Was the parking lot crowded or
I don't remember it being very crowded.
What time of day or night did you recall it being?
Maybe it was late. Maybe around like between 8 or 9.
8 or 9 o'clock at night.
Between that, yeah.
You sure?
I'm guessing.
Well, I want you to guess.
It was dark outside in January. If I remember correctly. It gets dark in California maybe around 5:30 or so in January.
Right, but you said about 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So how long did you wait there?
Yeah, not very long.
So you got there about 8 or 9.
Mm,
What you saying?
no.
How long did you wait?
Wait in the car, wait outside. There wasn't a whole lot of waiting.
It didn't take long to get to the mall, and it's you said it was an L-shaped mall, is that correct?
That is the strip mall.
No, but you said it was an L-shaped mall. It's really a U-shaped mall, isn't it?
Well, I remember the L shape, but it looks like a U. From overhead.
By an L-shape.
The letter L.
I know, but that's what you said. So show me on the photograph what you saw that caused you to believe it was an L-shaped mall.
A little difficult for me to do that, sir.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No worries.
Is an L like this where I'm moving it?
Yeah, that's the same way a knight moves on the chessboard.
So what about the other side of the mall?
What about it?
It's a U-shaped mall, isn't it, as you look at it?
Yes, sir.
So is there a reason you thought it was an L-shaped mall?
Because I remember the path that I walked was an L.
Yes. From here to here to here to here to here.
Yes, sir.
You sure this is the mall you went to?
Yes, sir.
So you come back and you say, I'm not going to do it, right?
Yes, sir. Say I couldn't do it.
And you were ready to go home then, right?
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you go home?
And my flight wasn't scheduled to leave until 2 days later.
Well, you ended up changing your flight.
I did.
So you knew you could change your flight.
Yes.
My question is, you said you didn't want to kill him that night. Why'd you kill him the next day?
I didn't think it was going to happen the next day. I thought it was over.
Did you discuss that with Mr. Baker?
No, I did not.
You didn't say anything to him like, I can't do this, I'm not going to do this.
I didn't say, I don't remember saying that. I remember saying I couldn't do it. He said, don't worry about it. I was like, cool.
Don't worry about meaning
And
you're
my
not going
thought
to have to
process
do
at
it.
that time, was cool. We're not going to do anything. Tomorrow we're going to wake up, maybe hit the gym, go get some food, just hang out.
Where was the knife? What'd you do with the knife?
I gave it back to him.
So you didn't have a knife, you didn't want to do it, you got up in the morning. Why didn't you just leave?
He was my ride.
You needed a ride.
Well, my flight wasn't scheduled to leave until the next day, so I had no intention of changing my flight like that.
Mr. Baker
it was
went to the
done.
gym, is that right?
That's my understanding, yes.
Is that what he told you?
Yes.
What did you do?
I stayed in the room and watched TV.
Did you have any money or credit cards with you?
I might have had my debit card with me.
Okay. Was there anything to prevent you from just calling an Uber or a cab and just going to the airport and flying home?
My bank account?
You didn't have enough money to get to the airport?
I'm sorry, what?
You didn't have enough money or a credit card to get to the airport?
Not at that time, no.
But you said when you went to the airport the next day, you used your credit card to pay the Alaska Airlines.
Yeah, I probably had like a few dollars on it, but not to catch a cab to the airport. And if I would have caught a cab to the airport, I wouldn't have changed my flight.
Were you penniless at that time, Mr. Austin?
Excuse me?
Were you penniless at that time? Did you have no money?
I had a little dollars.
But you came down there without any credit cards or any cash to use in case you wanted to buy something or do something or leave or whatever.
I mean, I might have had my debit card on me, or maybe some cash.
So why didn't you use that to just go to the airport and leave?
You're asking me why I didn't spend money to go to the airport and spend more money?
Whatever it took to get to the airport, change your flight, go home so you didn't have to kill someone.
I didn't have that kind of money on me to do that.
Did you ask Mr. Baker to take you to the airport?
He was my ride.
Did you?
I'm on the report for 15 minutes. The evidence applies. We got 3 and 15 minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Austin,
Yes, sir.
let me bring you back just briefly to the actual murder of Fabio Sementilli. You jog up the street with Mr. Baker and you go in the front door. Do you immediately go in the front door after you finish jogging up the street?
Are you asking me to walk you through the entire route?
No, I'm asking you, when you got to the top of the hill, did you go right to the front door?
Up through the driveway and in through the front door.
Okay. What I'm saying is, there was no looking around or waiting for anything. You had to get in and out as quick as possible, was your idea of the plan, correct?
Yes, sir.
From Mr. Baker.
Yes, sir.
You keep your hoodie on, your disguise on, correct?
Yes, sir.
How are you able to see through that?
Barely.
Okay. So, who opens the door?
Mr. Baker.
You go right in and you head right to the kitchen, correct?
Through the hallway, through the kitchen, yes.
Okay. Through the hallway, through the kitchen, knowing, according to Mr. Baker, he's going to be out on the patio, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you had seen the patio when you were there, what was it, a couple of years before? When were you there? At the house?
A few months prior.
A few months prior? You were just there, you saw them, you got on the couch, watched TV, and fell asleep, right?
Yes, sir.
So when you get to the kitchen, there's something I thought I read where it was 1, 2, 3, go. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Who said that?
Baker.
And what did that mean to you?
1, 2, 3, go means 1, 2, out on 3, we go.
And after the 1, 2, 3, did you go with them right out the door to the patio?
Yes, sir, I did.
And then you described to us that you and Mr. Baker killed him.
Yes, sir.
How long would you guess, not guess, how long would you estimate, since you were there, you were out in the patio murdering Fabio Sementilli?
I wasn't out there long.
Long enough to hold him down, stab him 3 or 4 times, and run out, correct?
I stabbed him once.
Oh, but Mr. Baker stabbed him a few times, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was he wearing a watch? Remember.
Maybe. Yes.
Was there any attempt to get the watch off him? Make it look like a robbery, burglary?
Again, my eyes were closed, so I would say, yeah, by the time I opened it, he was fumbling with his wrist and walked back into the house.
So you were the first one to stab him?
No.
Well, your eyes were open when you stabbed him, correct?
Yes.
Let me withdraw that. You knew where you were stabbing him, in the neck, correct?
I just went for the neck like he told me to.
I'm sorry?
I went for the neck like he told me to.
He told you to stab him in the neck.
Yes, sir.
He had been in the army, you knew that.
Yes, sir.
Did you know he was stabbing him where there were certain arteries or veins that would bleed quickly if he was stabbed there?
No, sir.
So you stab, he stabs, and then where do you go?
Once I see him go into the house, I go into the house as well.
Then
Make a
what?
right by the island, make a left into the garage and get into the car and wait.
So you didn't hang around in the kitchen or the patio or anywhere. You went right to the car after the murder.
Yes, sir.
And which way was it facing? Was it facing out to the street or facing into the garage?
Tail lights toward the kitchen, tail lights toward the back door. It was backed in
It was backed in,
to the garage. Headlights facing the.
so you could
Out.
drive right out.
Yes, sir.
You sure of that?
Yes, sir.
So it's backed in, and you get into the passenger seat or the back seat,
The passenger seat.
and that's the one facing farthest from the kitchen.
The car was backed in. I hopped in the passenger seat.
The front seat was closest to the kitchen door. Isn't
The
that right?
passenger seat. Yes.
Which one, the passenger or the front?
The passenger. Front seat.
I'm sorry, passenger front seat. Okay. So you're sitting there, and you said you heard Mr. Baker doing something?
Prior to going to the garage, I heard Mr. Baker doing something.
Prior to going into the garage. I thought you said you heard something after you got in the car.
When he came out with a bunch of stuff.
Okay. So how long was he gone?
Maybe 5 minutes.
Couldn't have been too long, right?
Long enough.
Well, did you know what he was doing?
No, not at the time.
You were sitting in the passenger seat of the car, correct?
Yes, sir.
Were the doors closed?
Yes, sir.
Were the windows closed?
No.
Okay. And between you and the house was the garage, and then what? The kitchen came when you went in, entered through the garage?
I
What?
entered from the patio,
Patio,
into the
kitchen,
kitchen.
and then he-
Heard rubbing.
I'm sorry. Go on. Patio, kitchen.
Heard rummaging. Kept
But-
going to the garage like I was instructed to do.
Okay. So you were instructed to stay in the car,
Yes.
and you did.
Yes.
Now, you said you heard rummaging. Now, I want you to describe what you could hear from the car in the passenger seat through the garage, kitchen, patio, and so forth in the two-story house. What did you hear?
I heard from the kitchen as I was going into the garage rummaging. Once I got to the garage, I sat there and I waited. Didn't hear much until he started coming downstairs.
Did you see any rummaging when you were going into the garage?
No, sir.
Did you see where he was going?
No, sir.
Was he bleeding?
Didn't look.
Did you see any blood on him at all?
Wasn't paying attention.
Well, what about when he got in the car and started driving? Did you see blood on his hand, blood on his shoes, blood on his pants?
He put my head down in between my legs and told me to get down.
So my question, your answer is no.
Yes.
And you're saying he was gone about 2 to 5 minutes? Say 2 minutes yesterday, 5 minutes today?
In between 2 to 5 minutes.
And then you saw him, you didn't see where he went in the house.
No, sir.
Did you just heard rummaging?
Before I got to the garage,
What kind of rummaging? What?
like things opening, like a drawer,
You took a drawer from where you were.
briefly.
Okay.
That's what it sounded like.
Did he tell you why he wasn't taking you with you to make it look more rummaging and do it quicker?
No, sir.
Okay, you just followed his instructions. right?
Yes, sir.
Throughout this whole terrible event, you just followed his instructions, correct?
Yes, sir.
So he comes back with what?
A pillowcase with stuff in it.
So you run up to the house, go into the patio and kill him, and he goes and leaves about 2 to 5 minutes. The whole time you were in the house couldn't have been more than 10 minutes, right?
If If you include the garage, yeah, maybe about that.
Maybe even less if you don't include the garage. Right?
Sure.
I mean, wasn't that the idea, to get in and out as quickly as possible?
Yes, sir.
Didn't he say something about a daughter, or his wife was gonna, Fabio's wife was gonna show up or something?
If I recall correctly, he said, shit, his daughter. I think his daughter. I think that's his daughter.
I think what?
I believe that's what he said.
When?
When he was driving out.
When he was driving out, he says, I think that's his daughter.
Yes.
Because there was a car driving up.
Yes.
Did you see that car?
No.
But before you got to the house, didn't he say something about hurrying up because someone might be coming home? I thought you tried to say it was Monica or her daughter. You tell me.
Yes, that's what he said.
What did he say?
He said somebody might be coming home.
Somebody might be coming home. And when did he say that?
On the way up, I believe.
On the way up the street that you're jogging, he said, we better hurry up because someone might be coming home.
He didn't say those words.
Well, something to that effect.
It's just something to that effect, yes.
And that's why you did it so fast.
That's why I went with him.
Pardon?
He told me to go with him, so
All
that's
right.
what he said.
And then you did it the way you just described.
Yes, sir.
At any time, did you see Fabio on the phone before he was stabbed by you and Mr. Baker?
No. He might have been smoking a cigar.
Okay. But I mean, was he on the phone taking a call, or did the phone ring, or did you see him on his computer or anything like that?
No.
Did he look like he was asleep when you killed him?
No.
Did you see a computer there?
No.
So he didn't move at all from where he was lying or sitting in that chair from the time you got out there, 1, 2, 3, until he was knifed to death. He didn't really move or anything. You all right?
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Austin, I just want to go back one more time to the transcript of the Crawford 1, page 107. Someone brings up plan. Question is, was it Baker or Birdsong? And you say I believe they were kind of working together. You meant Baker and Birdsong, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's okay, and you say like they were both former government. So again, question, well, I hope government people don't plan to. And you say they were talking among each other on how to do it. What did you think you meant by, what did you mean by how to do it?
How to cause harm to someone.
How to do the murder? Or did you know even then they were talking about a murder?
I saw them go into a room after our conversation.
And when was this and where, if you remember?
I think we were in Vegas.
The one where you said you never saw Monica, right?
Yes, sir.
You never saw her, did you?
I don't recall seeing her.
Okay. And then the question is, by Miss Silverman, in front of you, that is talking among themselves, and you say, yeah, I remember, yeah, and question, like what? And you say, he could probably do it. He's fast enough. I'm like fast enough. Like, what do you mean? And they started, Miss Stagel says, were they talking about how to do it? And you say, how to do it. So you believe they were talking about how to do what?
Cause harm to a family?
Cause harm to somebody.
Yes, sir.
But you didn't know who then?
No, sir.
Question, like how did they say, like, I mean, let's talk first weapons. Were they talking how, whether it would be shooting, knife, and you said shoot. And then it was question, beat up, and you said first talk about like beat up. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
Saying that? So they were talking about beating him up, right?
Yes, sir.
That's exactly what you told the people in Vancouver and the Perkins person and the DA and Miss Stagel. That Baker told you the day you arrived, we're just going to rough him up, right?
Yes, sir.
They were talking about it back then, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you say, and then they like maybe you could sneak in while he's sleeping. Did they say that?
It was discussed.
Who was saying that? Do you recall, Baker or Birdsong?
Baker.
Maybe you could sneak in while he's sleeping. And who was referring to, if you know, as you could sneak in? Did you know?
The victim.
Huh?
The victim.
Yeah, but who was going to sneak in? It said,
He
you
want-
said they
he wanted
said you
me to-
heard
He wanted me to do it.
you. Okay, so they were talking about you sneaking in, and then the answer is Monica can leave, you can tie him up and do it then. Remember that?
Yes.
Question, at this point, did it sound like, from what they were saying, that Monica was in on this as well? Remember that question?
Yes.
And you said it seemed that way, yes. Question, why? Answer, just because it was like how, not how the conversation is, just how they were going, like Baker was on his phone a lot. Question, okay, could you hear him talking to someone or just texting? Answer, no, he was texting. Question, and did you think he was texting Monica or the woman at this point? And you said, I think so. So you didn't know if he was texting Monica or not, did you?
Not entirely.
Well, you said, I think so. You didn't know, right?
Right.
And the question, but I guess the question is why. That is why you thought he was texting Monica or a woman at this point. And you say, but I don't, what do you mean? Question, this is from the DA. Like, why do you think she was in on it and he was maybe communicating with her? And your answer is, probably because they were messing with each other. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
So you thought that it was Monica he was talking about because he had told you at the gym that he was messing with her, right?
He was messing with her prior.
That was some time before, right?
Yes, sir.
You didn't know if he was still even messing with her, did you?
Didn't really cross my mind to be diving into his relations.
So, but you knew on one time he had introduced you to her and as someone you thought he was messing with.
Yes.
What does messing with mean?
Having relations.
Okay. And that's why you thought they were talking about him because they were messing with each other.
Yes.
Question, well, was he like responding to text and saying, oh, and you can do this, or he won't be home at this time? Did he seem like he was referencing his phone while he was talking? Answer, the day of, I can. Okay, there. If you're going, we'll get there. Okay, so where are you? You say still in Vegas. I don't know about that piece. Question, question, okay, answer. They were talking about it. It seemed like they would be, okay, they say.
Counsel, you're reading the entire transcript and not asking.
No, it's almost done.
Well,
That doesn't help me. Let's get to your question.
Okay. The last thing you say, that would be, she would be the person why of feeding the information. Okay.
Same objection.
Not to discuss.
And
Same objection.
Wait a second.
There's one more question by Ms. Silverman, which is relevant to this.
Well, get to it.
And when you first met Monica in Vegas during the 2016 visit at the area, was there conversation in front of her between you and Baker about getting rid of her husband? Answer, no. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Is that the truth?
Yes, sir.
So there was no conversation in Vegas about getting rid of her husband with Monica that you were a part of or you heard about?
Not in front of me.
Mr. Austin, we talked yesterday about how you felt about doing what you did, and we went through all that. And you felt terrible about it, right?
Yes, sir.
But not terrible enough to call the authorities and tell them what had happened or who had done it, even if you were going to commit suicide. You didn't do that.
We've been through this, counsel. Move on.
What happened with the 6 gold coins?
I cashed them out.
How long after the murder did you cash them?
Maybe February.
So the murder was January, end of January, and you cashed them within a week or two? Is that right?
Maybe 2-3 weeks.
And where did you cash them?
In Alaska.
But how did you cash them?
I gave them to a person who dealt with gold, and they told me what they were.
You gave them to a person who dealt with gold?
Yes, sir.
Was this something you did often?
No.
How'd you find someone who dealt with gold?
I was in the mall.
And you just put out a sign, deal with gold, see me?
Well,
Objection, argument.
Sustain.
How did you find the person?
I believe at the time in the mall there was a trade your jewelry in, trade gold jewelry in for gold.
So within a week or two of murdering Fabio Sementilli, you went in and traded that gold for money, correct?
No.
You didn't cash it in for money?
You said within a week or two. It was a little longer than that.
Well, you tell me, how long?
About almost a month.
Almost a month. You take the gold, cash it in for money, and then what did you do with the money?
Paid off some debts.
Didn't you consider that blood money?
Objection, argument.
Sustain.
I have nothing further.
You want to redirect?
Yes.